This is Kirk Sinclair, the hiking humanitarian. One important ingredient for a community program is autonomy. This point hit home for us when we got into Marion, Illinois. And not one, but two community programs there were structured around a principle of being autonomous, of having no strings attached from any kind of state or federal program. One of those Marion, Illinois programs was Marion Ministerial Alliance, which provided food assistance for many. And they vowed that they wouldn't take funding from sources outside of the community. And they found time and again, when they were in their biggest need, the community would come through for them because everyone knew that that's what they were counting on. The same thing is true for the Lighthouse Shelter. The Lighthouse Shelter was started by a private family that knew of about 10 or 15 people that needed shelter. There was available to them a old nursing home, abandoned nursing home. So they acquired the nursing home, started what they called the Lighthouse Shelter. And lo and behold, after 5 years, they served not 10 to 15 people, but 2,200 people. The need was much greater than anyone realized. And all along the way, they too were able to meet their needs of this expanding program through the community itself and not through state or federal funding. Because once again, they had laid that out right from the start, that that's what was going to be their purpose, that it was either going to get done by the community or it wasn't going to get done at all. And people rose to the occasion. So I think that illustrates one very important point here, that how do you know that someone can't come through unless you give them a chance? Or how do you know a community can't come through unless you give them a chance? How do you know a community will or will not come through unless they have the autonomy for that to happen? And also, the thing about a program that's autonomous, you can tailor it the way you want to. The no strings attached thing. There's a lot of horror stories about the strings attached to humanitarian aid abroad, corporations and government or what have you, that really, in essence, make the people in a far-off land worse off than if they weren't being given humanitarian aid with those strings attached. And I think some of the same principle applies here, that there are strings attached, and sometimes they're understandable. Government programs say wants to help the most needy and not the community as a whole, whereas a community program, according to one of the other principles that we've covered here, a community program wants to benefit everyone, really. And when you have strings attached, that may not be able to be accomplished by the community. Also, as we witnessed in St. Louis, sometimes success depends on it being autonomous, being a grassroots initiative, being done locally, being conceived of and carried out locally, rather than from up above. Sometimes that's the only way it will succeed, is through the autonomy, the local autonomy relied on. So if you're thinking of putting together a community program, keep that principle of autonomy in mind. Do your best to swear off any outside sources. Put the burden on your community to rise to the occasion. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what will result. This is Kirk Sinclair, the hiking humanitarian.